episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions. This one is going to be about the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Frank, and let's get into this.
All
But
right.
before I do, there you go, Jeffrey. This one's for you, brother. So, in any event, well, this is going to pretty much cover not his tag team reign. Everybody knows about that. We've done that episode already. This is going to focus on his singles run from 1991 on, which I got to say was way better than his tag team because he as a singles wrestler, man, he was one of the most talented guys in the ring. And everybody he worked with, whether they were garbage or not, he made them look better.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and it didn't take him long after WrestleMania 7, after the Hart Foundation broke up, for him to already be in the spotlight because at SummerSlam 91 at the Garden, he's in an Intercontinental title match with Mr. Perfect. And we've discussed this before, how the match could have been better, but this was Mr. Perfect was also injured. And I mean, the whole coach thing didn't make any sense. Bobby Heenan wasn't there. There was certain things, little things that seemed to take away from the match. But in the end, they still put on a great performance, and Bret Hart beat Mr. Perfect and became the Intercontinental Champion that night. And I thought it was cool. You know, he goes and sees, hugs his family and stuff because Lord Alfred Hayes is trying to stick the microphone in his thing. I wish they would have decked him and knocked him off the balcony, but whatever. So that wasn't his only accolade that year. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that was also at Madison Square Garden, and Bret had wrestled a lot of singles matches prior to that. I mean, they used him over the years. He wrestled a lot of house shows, single matches, so he had the experience, and they knew for a while that Bret was gonna be a singles wrestler. They just didn't know when they were gonna split him off from Neidhart. But he had a lot of experience. He wrestled Steamboat before at house shows. Yes. There's even a match with Macho Man out there where he wrestled Macho Man. He wrestled Mr. Perfect too, like in the late '80s. Him and Perfect had some matches. So I mean, he was ready, and also he was a singles wrestler before he came over when he was over in Stampede. So he had the experience. He was ready to go.
Yeah, and we've talked about how maybe at WrestleMania 2 it should have been Bret and Ricky Steamboat in a match 1-on-1 instead of what they did. So that we've covered that before. So yeah, he was definitely ready by far. The Intercontinental title that year wasn't his only accolade. You remember, and they didn't televise them or make it like a pay-per-view when they did it in '93. But you remember they were doing sporadic King of the Ring tournaments.
Yeah, that's right.
And in the 1991 King of the Ring, Bret Hart won. He beat Pete Doherty in the first round. He beat Skinner in the quarterfinals and IRS in the finals to become the King of the Ring in 1991. Of course, then he wins another one a couple of years later. But that was also good. And that was actually a month, not even a month, a couple of weeks after SummerSlam in September. So, and then he went to Tuesday in Texas. Everybody remembers that pay-per-view right after Survivor Series with the controversial finish to the Undertaker-Hogan match. Bret Hart defends the Intercontinental title for the first time and successfully on a pay-per-view against Skinner.
Yeah.
He always gave the lower guys the title matches on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge. He did it a lot with Virgil, Papa Shango, Skinner. I mean, just to make those guys relevant. Hopefully, maybe Vince would see something in them, but he never did.
You know what's funny about Bret is that early on they didn't have too much faith in him to be like a main event guy, like at the level of Hogan, right? Yeah. But there's a guy named Tom McGee that he was billed as the next Hogan. The guy, very athletic. He looked Diesel. He looked the part. Bret Hart, it's a legendary story. They eventually found the tape. It was on the former network. I don't know if it's on Peacock. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, it's like a legendary lost match. But apparently, and I've seen the match, but the office was so impressed that they thought, oh, we're gonna push this guy McGee to. Even though Bret Hart is the one that made him look good, and it's because of Bret Hart, we're gonna push McGee to the roof. This is the guy. This is the next Hogan and everything. The guy never panned out. But it goes to show you how they had Bret there the whole time. And it took a while for them to actually realize what they had.
In regards to Bret?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, look at it. It took 8 years before they realized.
Yeah.
And I'll coin a phrase here from somebody else. The next big thing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't realize that they had a diamond in the rough when it came to Bret until 1991.
I guess because back then it was all about the big guys. Even though Macho Man wasn't that big, but I guess Macho Man was like a little bit bigger than Bret, I guess. A couple inches taller than him, maybe.
Yeah, but they were Bret was always weighed in at 234. I think Macho weighed in at kind of like 220 something, like
I think
almost like a cruiserweight.
I think he was like 6'2" or something like that.
Yeah,
A little bigger.
but Bret brought to the table what the big guys, a lot of the big guys couldn't. And he was the technical wrestler. He was
Yeah.
the wrestling man's
Hmm.
wrestler, which was always good because you always get good matches from that.
Right.
So from there, we go to 1992. At the end of 91, beginning of 92, he started a feud with the Mountie over the Intercontinental title. And we've talked about this one before, where this actually started when Jimmy Hart threw water on Bret. And you remember the Mountie
Hmm.
initially hit him with the cattle prod,
Yeah.
which I always thought was funny, especially when you get that shocker noise from the back. You know, it was always hysterical. It never matched up with it,
Yeah.
though, by the way.
Before Goldberg, way before Goldberg.
Oh, my God. Yes, and we'll cover that in Goldberg's episode, too. Hopefully we don't laugh. So this started the feud with the two of them. And if everybody remembers, right before the Royal Rumble, where they were slated to face each other, Bret came down with the fever, 103, at a house show. He still showed up, wrestled the match, lost the title to the Mountie. They replaced the Bret Hart at the Royal Rumble with Roddy Piper, so Roddy wins the title from the Mountie. So Bret Hart has now lost the Intercontinental title. So, and that was on January 17th, 92, 2 days before the Rumble. So he later regained it at one of his best matches. I don't know if I would say his best match or Piper's best match, but it was definitely up there. WrestleMania 8, these two put on a clinic against each other for the IC title. And I kind of see that they build Bret almost like the heel, if you think about it. The way he came out, the way the fans weren't kind of acting to him because they were more towards Piper. So, but at the end they shook hands or whatever. But this was just a bloodbath. Yeah. I love the finisher. Piper's got his finisher sleeper hold on him. Bret did something never seen before. He puts his feet on the top turnbuckle, rolls him over against the 1, 2, 3. Phenomenal match. Phenomenal. We've talked about this in the WrestleMania 8 review. Just an unbelievable match. And so Bret Hart's now become the 2-time Intercontinental Champion. So then, right before he loses it, let me detour before I get to SummerSlam. The first time they ever did this match, but it was never officially documented until 1994. You remember the ladder match that him and Shawn Michaels had? It was on July 21st, 1992.
Yep.
He had the first ever ladder match against Shawn Michaels. And it's a shame they didn't document it that then or even go to a pay-per-view with it, because those two in a ladder match, great. And I believe for a time they had it on the network, but now you'd have to see it. You have to look it up on YouTube to see it. But it was a great match. Bret Hart retained the Intercontinental title.
Bret's the one who brought the ladder match in, because he had the from Stampede.
Yeah,
he introduced it. Yeah,
and like I said, it's just a shame the two of them couldn't do it on a pay-per-view even back then, because it was like, wow. So we go to SummerSlam, which is at Wembley Stadium in London. Bret Hart takes on his brother-in-law, the British Bulldog. And a lot of people say this was match of the year, which actually it was voted by Pro Wrestling Illustrated as a match of the year. Me, I was a little disappointed at it, but for other reasons. I thought it could have been a little bit better, but in all, putting all that aside, I mean, it was a decent match to me.
It was the main event. No, it was a great match. Yes. It was the main event. So because it was in Wembley Stadium, that's British Bulldog. So it was kind of it was out of the ordinary. It was
fitting for him.
Yeah, it was out of the ordinary for an IC title to be the main event, but
because that was the same year they also did the battle at the Royal Albert Hall, where Bulldog had won the 20-man battle royal, because they talk about it extensively during this, which was a great battle royal. So yeah, this match was voted match of the year. The WWE named it the greatest in the history of SummerSlam. So
I guess to that point, probably.
You know? Yeah, because I haven't. Well, they haven't listed any other match from that going forward. So I guess in their eyes, that is the best match. And so I mean, there's a few others that I could.
Stadium, the crowd. I mean, the crowd was really into it. Obviously,
it was about 80,000 there.
Yeah, Bret. I mean, for those who don't know the story, Bret said that Davey Boy wasn't in the best condition mentally or physically. And Bret had
he was up for several days.
Yeah, Bret had to basically guide him through the match. So if that is true, then credit to Bret Hart because you couldn't tell watching that match that Davey Boy didn't know what was going
If
on.
you watch it quite a few times, like I did, once I heard that story, I kind of watched it nonstop. I watch it, go back, I go back, and I go back. And if you start catching certain things that you can see where Bret was coming from as far as saying, yeah, he had to carry him through certain parts of the match.
There's one
Yeah.
spot where Bulldog is outside and Bret slingshots himself over
Mm-hmm.
the rope, and I guess Bulldog wasn't where he was supposed to be, and you could see Bret tries to recover, and he kind of like grabs him by the neck, and he could have gotten really hurt that way.
Yeah, so yeah, there were certain things that you can catch, but whether the stories are true or what happened, it's it's anybody's guess. In any event, from there, that didn't keep Bret down long because apparently the powers that be had the plans for him because he wins his first WWE Championship against Ric Flair, and they aired this on Superstars, and this was on October 12th, 1992. So it wasn't originally broadcasted. It was broadcasted a bit later. Put on Coliseum Video. I don't ever remember back then seeing it on Superstars. I don't know.
No, I said no. They didn't. They showed
they claimed
clips.
they did.
Maybe they did. But not. If they did, we already knew that Bret won. They had already announced it on TV that Bret won the title. Because I remember when they announced it, they might have shown clips. I don't know if they showed the whole match, but
I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, wait, Bret Hart.
I was shocked.
I'm like, he wasn't even involved in the storyline with Ric Flair. Where did this come from?
But not only that, he just lost the IC title. So why would you think that he would just lose? But that goes to show you that even though Bulldog won the IC title, Bret is the one who really like elevated himself, even by losing. That's when the company had a lot of confidence in Bret and said, hey, we could put the belt around this guy. Unfortunately, they decided to just do it at a house show in Saskatchewan. Was it Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Sorry for my Canadians if I just butchered that city, but
shame on you.
To do that over there, not even over there. I'm talking about for that not to be on a pay-per-view or something like that. I thought that was kind of a waste, man.
Thought that would have been good, and we had discussed this prior at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Or even do like an impromptu pay-per-view like they did a year prior with Tuesday in Texas, where you do something along those lines and at least give the buy rate, at least give Bret the fans not only there but around the world to be able to watch it.
Yeah, and the match was okay. Well, it was a decent match, but it wasn't great. And Bret Hart said that he had heard all these stories about how great Ric Flair was in the ring, and then he got in there and he's like he's really not that good. And then supposedly Flair had equilibrium problems because Warrior dropped him on his head in a house show or something, and so his balance was off. I don't know if it's true or if it's not true. Bret said that he felt like he was sandbagging him, trying to make him look bad.
It's possible considering he knew he had to lose a title, considering he was leaving, and maybe he didn't want to drop it yet, or to who he was dropping it to. And Bret, he had a different preference.
If you watch him, remember Bret if you watch the match, he dislocates his finger and he pops it. He tries to like yank it back, and you can see him as the perfect go ooh because he sees the injury happen. But Bret's like Bret told the story. He's like I was just about to win the title and now I get this injury, and he's like nothing was going to stop me at that point. I just had to get the title.
He could have had a broken ankle and been like, you know what, I can hop around here. I can do this.
Yeah. Then he gives the speech afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
About dreams coming true and everything.
Yes, he's right.
Yeah. No, it was a great moment. It's a great moment.
Yeah. Again, just wish it was national and not just
it was just that whole 92 era when things start going haywire with Warrior,
especially at the end of the year.
Warrior getting fired, Bulldog getting fired, Flair's on the way out. It's like
it was chaos.
It was chaotic. Yeah.
So Vince was trying to hurry up and get
and Hogan had left. I remember Hogan had left.
Yeah, Hogan took his ball and went home.
Yeah.
I guess Vince was trying to get his ducks in order with the new generation trying to establish themselves. So it's like, let me hurry up. Let me put the title on Bret and let me run into 1993 at least as strong as I can be. Got Shawn Michaels, my Intercontinental Champion. I've got my tag champions. Let me do this. So, but he picked, you couldn't have picked a better guy. So he had his first title defense on Saturday Night Main Event right before Survivor Series against Papa Shango.
Yeah.
Again, he would give those type of title shots to the guys that wouldn't normally receive it just to see what they could do. Maybe Vince would do something with him because I remember watching on Superstars, he gave a WWE title match to Virgil, to Rick Martel, to the Berserker. He was always fighting the guys that were lesser so that maybe Vince would see something in them and bring them up a little bit.
Well, Bret was known as a fighting champion. Like he'll fight anybody.
Exactly.
He'll always defend the title. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to be a fighting champion, fight Randy Savage, fight the guys like that, DiBiase, fight the main eventers. But I mean, I can understand also giving the other guys the shot too.
I mean, he wasn't booking. He wasn't the one that was booking the matches, so that falls on the office.
Exactly. So, and then of course, everybody remembers he had his first pay-per-view title defense at Survivor Series against Shawn Michaels, champion versus champion, which was a great match. It also proved what eventually would come between the two, the great chemistry, and proved that Shawn Michaels could one day be a main eventer.
The problem was
giving him a shot.
The only problem with that, there was no build-up.
No, it was just thrown together.
They threw it together. Bulldog got fired, or was about to get fired, and so they put.
Shawn was just he was a champion when it was booked.
They put the belt on Shawn. No, Shawn challenged. It was on Saturday night's main event. Shawn just came out of nowhere and they had a little backstage altercation, which led to them fighting for the title, and then becoming the main event at that pay-per-view. Because initially Flair was gonna in the tag match, and Flair was gonna be the champion going into the tag match, and they just shifted gears. I thought it was unfortunate. You don't book a champion versus champion at the last second.
Exactly, and not
no build up.
A huge build up. Yeah, exactly.
You know, still a good match, but I just felt like
it was
for the quality of, those two guys, two of the best. I mean, I know that at that point they weren't quite at that level, but you saw all the talent.
They were starting.
Yeah, they should have built that up, but
unfortunately, back then they didn't see what would happen 4 years later, or 5 years later. So anyway, now rolling into 1993, he goes into the Royal Rumble, and we've talked about this too, what the original title match was going to be and what we got. And either way, we weren't disappointed because he defended the title against Razor Ramon, another guy that was given an opportunity to see if he could be the main event star in the new generation. And Razor was no slouch, and those two had great matches together, especially in 93.
Yeah.
And so Bret Hart defeated him, which put him going into WrestleMania now against the Royal Rumble winner, Yokozuna. Which when I saw the 93 Rumble, I saw Yoko win, the first thing I thought is, oh God, Bret's going to die. I'm like, and it reminded me of Jake Roberts versus Andre the Giant, the frame, the build between the two of them. You got Bret that's 234 and Yoko's 505. I'm like, how are you going to get the sharpshooter on this big guy? And in any event, he actually did. And we've talked about this before, what happened during the match. Bret was disappointed in Yoko and whatnot, and Bret winds up losing the title to Yokozuna. Unfortunately, it didn't stay that way. Now, according to Bret Hart, and back me up if you've heard this, he was supposed to regain the title at SummerSlam against Hogan.
Yeah.
But Hogan chose to drop the title to Yokozuna, King of the Ring, instead.
Yeah. Hogan had shook his hand and thanked him for putting Yoko over so he can get the belt, and then they were gonna have their whole thing, their whole program later on in the year going into SummerSlam. They did a photo shoot which has never been seen, where they do a tug of war over the title, and it was for SummerSlam. They were doing that photo shoot, and then he just decided, I'm not gonna put that doesn't work for me, brother. And he said that apparently he told Vince or whoever that Bret was too small and it's not realistic. So he only wants to get beat. Yeah, he only wants to get beat by a monster heel. Then they went into the whole office, and then Hogan denied saying that, and then Vince denied saying that they were ever going to be in the main event. It was a big mess. They confronted each other backstage, Hogan and Bret, and Bret never quite let that go.
I don't blame him because I think that main event at SummerSlam would have been awesome.
And the passing of the torch.
Exactly.
It would have put the stamp on Bret.
You could have still did your Lex Express thing with Yokozuna and still had that match as a mid card match. And I mean, Yokozuna maybe gets the title somewhere down the line. He gets give him the title shot at King of the Ring. But when Bret winning the King of the Ring, at least let him go on to face Hogan in SummerSlam.
I think Hogan was actually supposed to be the one to slam Yokozuna. I think what happened was Hogan.
Intrepid?
Yeah, I think what happened was once Hogan decided he was going to leave and told him that he was going to leave, then they replaced him with Lex, and they came up with the whole Lex Luger, Real American. So
Yeah, and we've talked about how there wasn't enough time to do that storyline. They only had less than 6 weeks, and we covered that in Lex's
yeah,
episode. It was done too fast, and the fans were just it didn't click because they didn't have enough time to adjust from the narcissist to the Lex Luger being the All American. So, but I mean, Brett versus Hogan would have definitely brought the house down at SummerSlam.
yeah. It would have been a great match, but Hogan,
Played his politics again,
yep,
like he did at WrestleMania.
Yep, the usual. That doesn't work for me, brother.
He should just come out with a shirt and just walk around with that. It just doesn't work for me, brother.
Doesn't work for brother.
But in any event, go back to the King of the Ring now. This is the first. Now, they've done King of the Ring before where various people have won it. Savage, DiBiase, Martel, Brett. So this is the actual first time they've made it into a pay-per-view, which we both agree. I love the whole tournament thing. I just absolutely love when they do tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's
if they could do a pay-per-view with tournaments, I'd be the first one there watching. I just love the whole thing about it. So they had the 8-man tournament for the King of the Ring, and Bret Hart in the King of the Ring, he fought Razor Ramon in the first round, which was funny because everybody was chanting 1, 2, 3 to him when he was coming out and stuff. But they still put on a great match in the first round. Bret beats him.
Yep.
Goes on to the semifinals, an old rivalry with Mr. Perfect. Of course, they both say, I remember SummerSlam.
Yeah, that was great promos and everything. Yeah.
And at the end, they shook hands. Of course, Perfect was a little hesitant, but he did it because he's forgetting that he's playing the babyface role now, and he's not the heel, which he was so much better playing anyway. And so then from there, Bret goes and faces Bam Bam Bigelow in the finals, which for a big guy, Bam Bam was very agile to move around the ring. And these two actually put on a good match for the finals. And I'll go into more detail about it when we do the King of the Ring review. So now Bret Hart is crowned the first King of the Ring on pay-per-view. Does he get to enjoy the moment? No.
Nope.
Of all the people to come out, Jerry Lawler. Yeah, we can hear the crickets on Lawler right now.
This is like, listen. And Jerry Lawler, one of the greatest commentators ever, right?
Yes.
Ever. But as far as his in-ring work, I mean, I didn't really see him when he was down south. But I know by this point he was older. His character.
I watched his match with Kerry Von Erich in AWA when they unified the titles between the two groups that they were in. And I mean, he was good for the minor leagues in AWA, what AWA was. Yeah. But I mean, he was no heavyweight champion contender in WWE.
No, and so basically they gave Bret Hart the King of the Ring just to kind of appease him because he was so angry about what happened, how he was supposed to get the title back.
But if you do remember at that pay-per-view, they did say that the winner would get the title shot.
Right.
Which was supposed to lead up to.
Yep. So they did that, to appease him and everything, and then he won. Great performance that night. He stole the show, obviously, because he won. He was in the most matches, obviously. Yeah. But it was just great. Like, you saw Bret Hart's work. It was the Bret Hart show. That's what I call King of the Ring 93, basically, the Bret Hart show. Yes. He showed what he could do. He showed he could have a match with 3 different wrestlers and just different styles. And he could change his 3 different matches. Great. He doesn't use the sharpshooter at all in any of those finishes, right? He doesn't use the sharpshooter. So he showed what he could do. Then they throw him in with Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler hits him, and he actually hit him for real. He actually hurt Bret, which is why later on when they have the match, Bret holds the sharpshooter on him. We'll get into that in a little bit. But when I remember watching this, and I'm like, really? I'm like, Bret just lost the title, right? Then he wins the King of the Ring. So you're like, okay, now Bret's back on his trajectory to chase the belt. No, we're going to put you with Jerry Lawler.
My opinion on that is, because we just discussed it, since it wasn't going to be him and Hogan changed the plans at SummerSlam, that they didn't want to build up Bret and Yoko for SummerSlam just yet. So they had to change the plan. They had to throw a curveball in there and kind of, okay, we promised you the title match, but now this all changed. So let's sidetrack you here with this feud with Lawler.
And Bret was upset. Bret,
I don't blame him.
Bret was upset because he was like, "What are you doing with me? Like, you're putting." I mean, honestly, think about this. Bret, you're putting him in the mid card.
Yeah.
Why?
I think that match was mid, like,
it's a mid card
match on the card.
It's Jerry Lawler. This is a mid card match.
who hasn't wrestled a pay-per-view other than a Royal Rumble, and he's your guy on Superstars. He hasn't even done a pay-per-view yet. I mean, he just got there.
You're pushing Brett, then you stop and you throw him into this nonsense, and then you expect the guy to be happy, and then you push Luger, who I understand Luger had a great look and everything, but I mean,
He just got there.
he just got.
I
What do you?
mean, Brett's already established himself. You put him in the main event of WrestleMania, and now you've just dropped him immediately.
Yeah.
And the only good thing to come out of this thing with Lawler was it was voted best feud of 1993. What does that tell you? That you didn't have that many good feuds in 1993?
No, and this is a feud that just kept going on and on
For 2 years.
and on. Yeah.
And they finally buried the hatchet. I'll get to that in a little bit later on when I get to 95. So 16 years after the fact, they buried the hatchet. But then again, Brett supposedly buried the hatchet with everybody, but who knows that's even true.
Yeah. So, all right. So then, I guess we go right into SummerSlam, basically, right? I mean, they do a little few.
He fought Lawler at SummerSlam and was disqualified.
Yeah, which again, man, I'm watching this and I'm like, this is terrible. He had him in the sharpshooter. He didn't break the hold, so they reversed the decision.
How many times have we seen that?
I'm like,
hardly ever.
But and the story is, like I said, he put more into the sharpshooter because that was
what Lawler did.
Because of what Lawler did, he owed him a receipt.
Yeah,
and he intentionally held on to he actually pulled back on the sharpshooter. Good for Brett.
So now
let's the same thing.
Oh yeah. So now let's look at it. Let's look at the downward spiral we got going here. He's lost now at WrestleMania. He wins the highlight pay-per-view, the comeback, where he was the wrestler of the pay-per-view, only to have it taken away by a mid-carder. So now you put him in the mid-card match at SummerSlam, and you have him lose. So now, where is 1993 going for him? It's just not making sense. And what makes even less sense, and we'll get to that in a minute, was 95. But 93 is not looking any better already. You started on a high note, and now you're losing to.
It's like they gave up. It's like they gave up. They kind of gave up on him. Like, we tried. It
almost felt like that.
We tried to go a different direction with because Brett kind of brought I don't know if I should say credibility to the belt, but he brought like a different style. Like this was a wrestler.
Prestige to it almost.
Yeah, and with Brett, it was like the belt really it meant something to him. You know, he took it very serious, and but he continues the feud with Lawler. We're going to the fall now and leading towards Survivor Series.
Well, not even then, because here's something you may not know that actually, if you look back now, you can actually say, oh, the feud between these two kind of even started at that point. November 20th, 1993, Bret challenged Yokozuna on Superstars of Wrestling for the title. He had the sharpshooter applied, and when Owen came down to ringside. Now, Owen came down to congratulate his brother. The referee got all distracted with him. Fuji attacks Bret. Yoko gets the victory. And this happened again 2 days later on Monday Night Raw, which was almost the same outcome. So it's like almost Owen. It's like the seed was already starting to plant for that, even though Survivor Series hadn't happened yet. And so Bret, that's 2 times now. 2 more times he faces Yokozuna. 2 more times he's getting the loss. Only this time now it's his brother that's doing it.
Yeah.
So, but going into Survivor Series, it was supposed to be the Hart family versus Lawler and his
King's
ridiculous
Court, right?
Knights. Which
Justice,
why couldn't they just get 3 wrestlers to team with him? Why did it have to be 3 masked guys that were calling Red Knight, Blue Knight, Yellow Knight?
I guess nobody liked him. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it wasn't even him because due to his legal issues, they had to pull him out of the storyline. And in comes Shawn Michaels, now second year in a row, you're being thrown into a match with Bret Hart that has no backstory to it. And now he's talking smack. And they had to use a year ago as the motivation for this match because in the interview, because I remember a year ago, Bret, and I'm like, wait a minute, 2 weeks ago you weren't even in this match.
Right.
You weren't even on the card.
No, he wasn't he suspended at the time?
Yes. This was when he came back.
Yeah.
From that suspension where they took away the Intercontinental Championship. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we're going to bring you back, but we're going to throw you into this for no reason. And it was an embarrassing match. I mean, the only person to get eliminated on Hart's thing was Owen, which was the whole Bret taking forever to walk back to the apron, and Bret, gets slung into the railing. The family only
Night
cares
Eagles,
about
yeah.
him. This started the
This
greatest
started,
feud
yeah.
in 1994 with Owen Hart. So overall, in 1993, despite the losses and the embarrassing storylines, Bret was voted Wrestler of the Year in '93. So I mean, something good did come out of it,
Yeah, at least.
despite the cheesy
Mhm.
storylines. So we move on to 1994. So now we go into the Royal Rumble where Bret and Owen to kind of bury the hatchet between the two of them. They go to face the Quebecers for the tag titles. Bret Hart with the K-Fob knee injury because he wasn't injured,
Yeah.
but it was a good storyline.
He wouldn't tag. He said that he wouldn't tag Owen.
Yes, he. Why couldn't you just hear him? Why
All
couldn't
right,
you
all
just
right. Just
tag me,
tag me.
Bret?
All you got to do
Just
is
tag
tag
me,
me. Yeah, yeah,
Bret.
yeah.
Oh God, it was awesome.
That was great.
Back then you look at it and go, oh, the whiny little SOB, but now you look at it and go, oh, that's pure brilliance.
Yeah, I kicked your leg out of your leg. Remember?
And I liked it. It was almost an ecstasy. He's like, I liked it. And they're like, all right, let's get out of here. We can't talk to you no more. So then they go on into the Rumble, the two of them. Owen got eliminated almost right away. This is when Diesel had set the record.
Yeah, he was just throwing everybody out. Mm-hmm.
Which has been just decimated from then on, Kane and then eventually Roman. But, Bret Hart winds up co-winning the Rumble, which I don't agree with, and I will say this till my deathbed. Luger's foot hit first. If you watched it live, that's the only way you could have saw it. They edited it since. I mean, you watch it live, they show you the camera angle. His foot hit. Bret wins the Rumble. Come on, people. Co-winners makes no sense. That's the only year they did it, because if you remember, they tried the same thing happened between Cena and Batista later on.
Yeah, but that was by accident.
Yeah, well, I think I really don't want to. I really don't want to make myself believe that this was planned.
No,
I really don't.
It was planned. Yeah.
It's just horrible because
it was fun.
Bad, Vince, bad. In any event, I don't want to dwell on Bret should have been the Rumble winner on that, because he didn't even get another one on his own after that. That was his only one, and it's not even one; it's a half.
Right, pretty much.
So now you go on to WrestleMania, and we've talked about this in the WrestleMania 10 review, that they did the coin flip on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
The winner gets the title match first between Luger and Bret, and then the other person has to fight in a match. Now, if Luger won, Bret had to face Owen. If Bret won the coin toss, then Luger had to face Crush. Luger won the coin toss, so Bret and Owen opened up WrestleMania. And oh my God, we got one great match between the two of them. And these two tore the house down for 20 plus minutes. Owen beats him. So now Bret's going in with no momentum. Goes into the main event at WrestleMania. Whatever happened to Yoko, and we've talked about this with the whole ring rope and everything, it was just lackluster to me. But Bret wins the belt and becomes a two-time champion. Yeah. Owen comes down the ringside. You think he's going to bury the hatchet. He doesn't. He's down there to, that should be me. And he's right, if you think about it. If they did triple threat match back then, you never know. You could have did it. Mm-hmm. So now, along with feuding with Owen going past WrestleMania, he's also started a feud with Diesel. And I always liked when these two got in the ring, because they the big guy and the little guy, but Bret, he gave Diesel a run for his money. Yeah, King of the Ring '94 was pretty good.
It was David versus Goliath. That was the story they were telling, and they were saying, if on their feet Diesel has the advantage, but if it gets him down to the ground, Bret's gonna have the advantage. So they told her, and then they told that story in the ring. So it was really well done. They pulled off the champion versus champion again.
Mm-hmm.
But this time
Diesel was the Intercontinental Champion.
I think only the WWF title was on the line. The
IC title, one title.
Yeah.
And at the King of the Ring, Jim Neidhart interfered, and we didn't know until the end of the night the reason why he did what he did.
Well, he was his insurance policy, because you didn't know. Remember, Bret was teasing. He had somebody in his corner. He was going to watch his back because of Shawn Michaels in Diesel's corner.
But in actuality, it was Neidhart watching Owen's back, because he wanted Bret to still be champion when it came time for Owen to get his shot.
Yeah,
if he won the King of the Ring.
Shawn cheated. I think Shawn hit Bret. Something happens. Then he gets jackknifed, and then Neidhart runs into the ring, clotheslines him, and it saves the title because you can't win the title on the DQ. But then they were saying we don't know if Bret would have kicked out of the sharpshooter, the jackknife or not. Yeah.
And it was funny because after all that happened and the match is over, Neidhart disappears while Diesel and Shawn are beating Bret down.
Yeah, and he's like upset, like, he's like,
like, I can't believe I did what I did. Yeah. Oh man, I cost him the match. Oh, okay, I'm out of here. But meanwhile, he did the job, what he was supposed to do. But in any event, it was a good match. So now you go to SummerSlam, and not the main event, unfortunately, it was Taker versus Taker, but double main event if you want it. The steel cage match between Bret and Owen. Yep. Now you got Bret Hart, the WWE champion, versus the King of Hearts. The Hearts, both brothers have won back-to-back King of the Rings.
Another great match.
Yes, and for the second straight year, Bret won Feud of the Year in 1994 with this feud with Owen Hart, and by far, I have to agree with this one. Yeah. Because these two just were awesome in the ring.
You know, I wish they would have broadcast them or done something with it. They had Iron Man matches that year at house shows. Mm-hmm. I would have loved to have seen those Iron Man matches.
Oh, definitely. I wish they would have done one just with on a pay-per-view.
On a pay-per-view, but I guess back then they weren't really ready to do that on a.
No, they were still doing the buy or try monthly pay-per-views. They had just added the one, so now it was 5 a year. Mm-hmm. WCW was kind of more. They were doing more at that point, but Vince didn't want to push the button. He did a year later with the cheesy In Your Houses, but they were still doing a monthly.
I remember they had that I think it was called the WrestleMania Revenge Tour, right after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Yeah. So
and they had quite a few good matches, the two of them on that one. So he goes ahead and beats Bret. Beats Bret. He beats Owen, which we've talked about. Maybe it should have gone the other way, even for a brief time. He goes into Survivor Series now. Another match that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, with Bob Backlund. Yeah, this is what. The booking with Bret was so bad at times, man. For every great Bret match, not that he never had a bad match, but for every great booking, like, okay, I want to see Bret versus this guy, they always had some stupid booking, like with Bob Backlund.
But with Backlund, there was no storyline or a momentum build for Backlund to be up into that thing because he wasn't wrestling on the pay-per-views. It's like you almost thought that unless you just watched the pay-per-views and not Monday Night Raw, he almost looked like he disappeared. It was only for that one instance.
No, he was gone.
Attacked Bret.
But you know this. Okay, so you know the story behind this, right? That's the same year that George Foreman won the title, and Foreman I think Foreman was like 40. He was like 43 or 44 years old. So Vince gets this great idea. Oh well, George Foreman won the title, so we could do a storyline. It was
against Michael Moore, right?
Yeah, knocked him out.
I remember watching that live. Yeah, it was a great match.
It was a great fight, but so they bring back Backlund, and then they have that match which was actually a really good match with him on Superstars. Bret versus Bob Backlund was a really good match.
That's when he snapped.
Yeah, and then Bret beats him, and then he snaps on him, and that sets up the towel match, which I never really got. I guess.
Well, that's because Arnold when Arnold Skolin had thrown the towel in, when Iron Sheik had Backlund in the Boston Crab. Backlund never submitted.
No, he threw the towel.
And Arnold Skolin threw the towel in, and so he always said for years, "I never submitted. I never lost the title."
He should have let him die. Just remember, Rocky didn't throw the towel in when Apollo was fighting Drago. He said, "You're not going to stop this fight no matter what," and then he died. But at least he died on his shield, right?
Yeah, on page 43 of that script.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to stop this fight no matter what. But
that's pretty much what it should have been. So that's where the stipulation came in with the towel. And Owen's not going to throw it in even if Backlund's paralyzed.
That's why it was stupid. I was like, Bret's going to lose this match. I already knew.
Because they did that K-fob nonsense where Bulldog gets knocked out for 20 minutes, where he didn't even really look like
he was knocked out for a long time, wasn't he?
Yes. Just from hitting the stairs, which wasn't even that good of a fall. I mean, sell it a little better, man.
Yeah, and Bulldog had come back at SummerSlam. He was in the front row?
Yeah.
I think it was with his wife, Bret's sister.
Yeah, and they were sitting right in front of Neidhart, who was, the heel.
Right.
Because remember, they all tried to get in the cage.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So, you knew Bret was screwed, and then Owen's like, he's in the chicken wing for I don't know how long. I remember watching this, and I
swear it's got to be at least 10, 15 minutes.
10
minutes for sure.
I remember I counted it when I first saw it. I don't remember off the top of that, and I haven't gone back to actually time it.
It was a long time.
Well, it was a while. But I remember I'm like, I knew Bret wasn't gonna quit though. I'm like, nah, Bret's not quitting. And then when Martha took the towel and threw, but I was like, but she wasn't the towel holder.
No, it was Bulldog
Right, and he's out, so nobody could throw the. I know it's a story, but I'm just saying.
And Owens pleading,
I
crying
was
with
pissed off,
her.
man. I was so angry, man, because I was a huge Bret Hart at that point. Brett became my favorite wrestler.
I like that Stu took it and said, "I don't think so. You're not throwing
Right,
this
right,
thing.
yeah,
I
no.
don't
If he
care."
dies, he dies. That's it.
Exactly. You
That's
know,
it.
my son is tougher than that.
Right.
Let
He
him
used to torture him. He used to torture him in the dungeon. He
Exactly.
used to torture him. Bret Hart told
So,
stories that Stu would be like torturing him and says, "You're about to breathe your last breath," and like
mhm.
he actually thought like, "Oh,
And he set him up for matches like
my
that.
father's about to kill me." Can you imagine?
That's why they called it the
Right.
dungeon. You would hear the
Yeah.
screaming from upstairs.
Right. Grown men screaming for their life.
The cartilage cracking, the bones breaking.
Yeah. But so Owen, he convinces Martha to throw the towel, and it was all a big setup
Ellen.
to get the the belt onto Bob Backlund, only for Bob Backlund to lose the title. Like
What was it? 3 days later at the Garden.
At the Garden on a house show.
8 seconds.
Right.
Couldn't even do it on a Monday Night Raw,
so
where you'd get some ratings.
Okay, so so you see what they did here. What they basically did was, okay, we want to get the title on Diesel, but we can't have Diesel beat Bret for the title because it's going to lower Bret's stock.
So how do we get the title from Bret to Diesel without them both losing face? Oh, we just put it on the middle guy. Hey, you never lost the title. There you go.
It was kind of like what happened with Iron Sheik, where Iron Sheik won the title and Hogan beat him.
Because they wanted to get the title from Backlund to Hogan, but didn't want Backlund to lose to him because Backlund and Backlund never got the rematch. Right. He fought Iron Sheik later on that year in his revenge, but never got the rematch with Hogan for his title, which I thought was wrong. Right. And then he disappeared. So technically, this was them going, okay, here's your title match. You get your belt back. Now you've lost it cleanly. Get out of here.
So it's like basically, again, Bret is a transitional champion again. Basically, right? 94. He was a transitional champion. That's all. Like they with Bret, it was always like they had half confidence in him.
Like, I think he did a pretty good job, not being a placeholder for the title, but he ran with it with the company and had several feuds he did.
It's not his fault that business was down. That was after the steroid thing that Hogan had left. Like, it's not his fault that everything.
94 wasn't a bad year in WWE.
No, it doesn't get bad. No, the following year's when it gets really bad. But
oh God,
that wasn't his fault. So and Shawn runs into a very similar thing in '96.
Exactly.
So
with everybody leaving and then he's holding the torch.
Right.
You cannot say that his matches are a result of the business being down because he's going out there and having a 5-star match every night.
Right. And
same thing with what Bret Hart was doing.
Right. And it's not his fault that they put him with Bob Backlund. Why would you make that a main event? Why would you do that?
And to add insult to injury, why would you have given him a rematch with him at WrestleMania? Of all the people, and then Bret didn't like it anyway.
Yeah, so
Bret didn't even want to be part of that match.
No, we'll get to that in a minute, but
I'm gonna get to that in a second.
So from after he loses the title, Where did they go from there after Survivor Series?
To close out '94. He won the second year in a row Wrestler of the Year. So at least he ends on a high note despite what they did.
At least he's got that,
like in '93. Yeah. Well, to him the accolades were important. 1995, he comes back with his supposed new attitude because Diesel sees he was wronged. I'm going to give you a shot at the title because now he's a fan favorite because he's broken away from Shawn. He said, "I'm going to give you the title match for the belt that you were screwed out of." Mm-hmm. So now these two fight at the Rumble. Neither one of them at this point can lose face. Obviously,
no.
You just put the belt on Diesel. You're not going to take it off of him. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have Bret lose yet again. So what do? They did multiple run-ins, and it was mostly Shawn and Backlund and Owen.
And Owen, yeah.
But for some reason, what the hell was Jeff Jarrett doing out there? Because at one point I see him in the roadie. What the hell are you doing here? What the?
I don't know, dude.
I never understood why he was there that one time. I'm like, what?
And
I can understand the other three guys.
And I spoke about this in another video. They screw up. Like the timing is off with Shawn. Shawn got there late after the jackknife. and Bret Hart had to kick out of it. He got his. You can see Bret's shoulder go up, and I was like, he kicked out, but they never. The broadcasters never acknowledge it. They're just like, oh, Shawn interfered, but you can see Bret had a kick
they'll
out.
never acknowledge their screw ups. You know, remember WrestleMania 8 with the whole thing with Papa Shango. They're never going to acknowledge it. They're just going to try to keep going and hope nobody caught it. Yeah. So good luck with that.
So that was. I mean, it was a great match up until the nonsense started happening. Yeah,
it was.
They always had great. But Bret to me. I mean, you might disagree. Some people might disagree. I think Bret Hart had better matches with Diesel than even Shawn had with Diesel. I think. Overall,
no, I agree.
Overall,
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, unfortunately, the only times he really fought Diesel, he fought him at WrestleMania 11, which was a great match. Then he fights him again the following year after the night he's going to leave.
That's a great match, though. The Good Friends, Better Enemies. That's a great match.
Yeah. Really good, yeah. But I mean, as far as the two, I got to agree with you. I think Bret Hart had a better match with Diesel because for Diesel had to do a lot more in this match than he would with Shawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but mainly in 1995, Bret Hart became the number 2 after this match. He wanted to focus on his acting and stuff like that. Me personally, I think they just wanted to keep him out of the spotlight because Diesel was running with the company. And I've discussed this before. In 1995, not only Bret Hart was held back, but so was The Undertaker. And they were put in the cheesiest, dumbest feuds you ever can, just so they wouldn't be part of the title match. And I just thought, in a year that this is already producing garbage, you're just adding to it.
Yeah, they because then they go right back to Bob Backlund right after Royal Rumble. They go right back to Bob Backlund.
Yeah, he defeats him in an I Quit match at WrestleMania 11. Hart stated that match was probably the worst pay-per-view match he's ever had.
Yeah, he hated it. I remember I wasn't excited. I wasn't excited too. I'm like, why are we doing this again? You know,
we could have did this on Monday Night Raw.
Right.
You could have found somebody way better. You could have even had Bret and Owen again at WrestleMania 11. You know, finalize the feud and be done with it. But Backlund, I mean, at this point, you're just trying to keep Backlund relevant. Because, all right, you already did the title thing with him. That's it. I mean, this was not deserving of Bret. And, I mean, it was a WrestleMania win for him, but still, I got to agree with him. This was his worst pay-per-view match.
Terrible.
So from there now, it doesn't get any better because they go to the first ever In Your House. And he's got to fight not one match, but 2. Because now, all of a sudden, they've sparked the Jerry Lawler feud again. And there was no indication of this for a whole year and a half. All of a sudden, it's just like, all right, you finished.
Here we go. Jerry Lawler again.
I want to keep you away from Diesel. So, and I mean, Bret could have even had matches against the $1 Million Corporation. He could have fought on pay-per-views, guys like Bundy or Sid. People like that, at least it would have been more interesting than this.
They just they just keep wasting them this year.
I mean, he first faced Lawler's protege, Hakushi, which wasn't a bad wrestler.
No, he was a good wrestler.
The gimmick was a little off. But I mean, as far as a wrestler goes, wasn't bad. So he beats him that night, and then goes to face Lawler in that night. But he loses to Lawler again in the second match, thanks to Hakushi's help. So now, what are we doing with this guy? This is the man leading our way in the business, and he's lost to a commentator again.
Yeah.
So what do we do from there? Do we end the feud? No, we go to King of the Ring and let's have a Kiss My Foot match. And that whole disgusting thing where Lawler's not.
That was nasty, man.
Yes,
that was nasty. I remember watching that. I'm like, this is nasty. And I'm like,
Bret wins. He makes Lawler kiss his own foot.
Vince is into some weird stuff, man.
I think Monsoon has something to do with some of this stuff.
No, it's Vince. No, Monsoon had nothing to do. No. Monsoon is an on-air. I don't remember hearing that Monsoon was part of creative.
I know it was. It was several guys at that point besides Pritchard and Vince. It was Gorilla was in on a few of the other things. I don't think Vince Russo was at that point. I don't think so.
No. Vince Russo was.
It was another guy. I can't remember.
He was still writing. Vince was writing. Russo was writing magazines. He wasn't part of the creative team.
I know Monsoon sat in on a few of them, but
this is.
I mean, yeah,
Vince
he was
mainly
some
weird stuff. Remember, let's not forget Vince wanted to do a storyline with him and his daughter. Some weird incestual. Yeah. So.
Well, what the hell? He wrote a damn a dead woman storyline, the
That
whole
was
Katie
Triple
Vick
H.
thing.
That was Triple H. That was Triple H.
That wrote it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Bastard.
But anyway,
These people need therapy.
Yeah. So the stupid Jerry Lawler feud still going on, and then
from King of the Ring with the whole foot thing. Now that brings in the Isaac Yankem.
Yeah, I'm good. This is my dentist. Do you know
all the names? Isaac Yankem.
Do you know the story about that? That somebody had an idea, and it might have even been Vince. He always wanted to make a character that was a dentist.
Well, why not? He already had a trash man and everything else. Had a baseball
this is
player.
A bad year. No, it's a bad year. A hockey player. It's a very bad year.
The Goon. And then he made Brooklyn Brawler into Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Remember Santa Claus?
God, that was after that. What was it? XCW or something? Some small promotion had gone out of business.
Yeah,
Santa Claus was part of it.
Yeah, Minotaur. The guy was like supposed to be like half man, half Minotaur.
Oh,
Mantar, whatever.
Well, yeah, and he had Aldo Montoya, Bastion Booger.
All right.
I mean, a couple of guys have asked us to do a jobbers thing. This is going to take way too long. I mean, you talk about that's a 10-part.
I told you, look, I got my money on. I think I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Brawler. It's between him or
jobber
that he'll win that tournament, or Barry Horowitz. It's just one or the other to me.
If we want to do something where we set up a tournament for that episode, I'm all for that. But if we're going to start talking about them, we'll be here forever.
Yeah, no.
Because there's not just a handful. There's at least 100 bad gimmicks and jobbers out there.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's just sad.
He sets it up. Oh, I'm gonna bring my dentist in, and then they start doing the vignettes. It's stupid, and then they ended up. So SummerSlam, right? Was you see what I'm talking about? They wasted Bret Hart. You have him in another stupid match with the dentist of Jerry Lawler.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got Diesel defending the title against Mabel.
That's a whole other story, but.
Yeah, well, when we get to SummerSlam 95, I'll try.
95.
When we review that, I'll try not to fall asleep
on 95 was
that was a bad one.
Was just a mess.
I understand Gorilla was trying, the on air, trying to add some matches to it, and I mean the ladder match to me saved the pay-per-view.
Right? Yeah, it was still good.
But all in all, I mean, Bret. I would rather see Bret versus Kane than Bret versus Isaac Yankem, or even Bret versus Fake Diesel.
Yeah, thank God that Kane actually got a good gimmick eventually.
Glenn Jacobs, yeah.
Glenn Jacobs, yeah.
And that was his best gimmick.
Because looking back at him, like they really set him up for failure. They really did.
They recycled him so much.
He had all the tools.
Yes. When they finally found that one that clicked, which was Kane, right. I thought I was a Kane fan through 97 and 98. Yeah. I'm like, this guy's just total badass.
Yeah. So they wrestle at SummerSlam.
He beats him.
Yeah.
But now we go from bad to worse because this starts a 3-month feud with Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Because he stole his jacket.
And his glasses. Let's not forget that. He was a pirate. He steals everything.
Yeah, he steals everything. Yeah.
Vince has to have a pirate. I've got hockey players. I need pirates.
I remember watching this and just being so disappointed as a fan of Bret. Like, I'm like, what are they doing with him with these? What do they do? He's the best guy.
It's not even guys like Rick Martel and Virgil where he's trying to give them a bump up. These are guys that Vince just doesn't know what to do with. Yeah,
they got him in the mid card. They got him in the mid card.
Quebecers broke up, and now you want this guy because Raymond Rougeau wanted to retire, or Jacques Rougeau, one of them.
Meanwhile, Diesel is not doing good as champion.
No, because by this point, his winning streak started coming to an end. Because if you remember on Superstars, he lost by countout to Waylon Mercy. So now he's starting to get frustrated because now it's like it's coming to an end, and I guess he realizes what's coming is that Bret, because Bret's not getting any momentum by beating these ham and eggers. But I mean, Diesel's you can see the character starting to get frustrated because now his winning streak's coming to an end. He lost several matches by countout or DQ. But the worst that started his flip was Waylon Mercy or Dan Spivey, whatever you want to. That guy didn't last long. But, I mean, you could see it coming to that. And after, the best part is he starts his 3-month feud with Lafitte, but only one pay-per-view match. That's it.
Thank God.
And the match wasn't even that good. I mean, Bret when Lafitte was coming to the ring, you see Bret flip out of the ring to start the attack on him. That was good. But I mean, Bret wins against Lafitte. I mean, I don't even want to talk about that anymore. Which gives him now the momentum into Survivor Series. Now Diesel's pissed because he's got to face him again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one was a no disqualification match too.
I believe so, yeah.
This wasn't going to be like the Royal Rumble with the interference. This is going to be, we're going to get a winner. And Diesel wasn't joking around like he was back then because, again, he was suffering a little bit of a losing streak going into this. And I like that Bret played possum with him. You know, he rolled him up with a small package for the win. And Diesel's all pissed off. Yep. Bret wins the third title.
But remember, before that, he got thrown through the table. He was on the apron, and Diesel pushed him. And that was a big deal because back then people didn't go through tables. That was an ECW thing. And I think Bret got it from Sabu, I think. I think Bret took it from Sabu. He took the idea. And they did it, and it worked. It was like, oh, my God, we never seen anything like this. Like, it looked good, you know? And then Bret plays possum, rolls
if you're going to make it a no DQ match, you gotta do something. Like Weapons was still kind of...
Then Diesel snaps.
Does he? He said, and I remember the next night on Raw when he said, unless you've got a black glove on your hand, I'm not acknowledging you. And he was sort of turning heel, but he was still the fan favorite because he fought Owen Hart at that In Your House pay-per-view in December. But you could see the turn was starting. So, but
nobody knew how to sell a jackknife like Bret Hart. When Bret Hart used to take the jackknives,
the
way he used to be like, like on the mat, like it was nobody could sell it like he could.
And as far as people doing the powerbomb, there was only certain people that could do it that would make it look great. Diesel was one of them. I think Sid was the other one that could really do it. But Diesel,
I like the Vader bomb. Remember the Vader bomb?
Yeah, I like the Vader splash. To be honest, I thought that was cool too. Plus, when he hit you with those boxing hands, he knocked you out. Vader was a tough dude, man.
Oh, definitely.
So now he goes to his first title defense at the In Your House in December against his brother-in-law, British Bulldog. Yeah. And that was a pretty good match.
No, it was really good.
You know, it gave Bulldog the opportunity to be in the title picture, which, we've discussed this before, maybe he should have been there, but due to to certain things is what kept him out of it. Mm-hmm. But he had a good match with Bret. Bret wins, and that takes him into 1996. Now, 1996, the match was scheduled. It was Bret Hart versus The Undertaker. Unfortunately, we didn't get a clean outcome on that one.
No,
that was Diesel. So Diesel interfered. Bret loses to Taker by disqualification. Mm-hmm. Now, you could say that this was Diesel's still being pissed off at Bret, or was he targeting his next? I think he was still ticked off at Bret for losing the title, which ensued his next rivalry with The Undertaker, which I wish those two guys would have faced each other long before WrestleMania 12, because they look like they could do some damage in the ring. And it's a shame they didn't do the babyface match, because in '95, you want to say that Diesel was a good WWE champion. Then besides facing Bret and Shawn Michaels in 1995 and Sid, he should have fought The Undertaker as well. Mm-hmm. Then that would have solidified him as being a dominant champion. He did pretty good in that whole year run, but it was missing that one other big challenger. And I'm not talking about Mabel. So in a rematch on Raw, February 5th, 1996, Bret beat Taker by disqualification. This time, again, Diesel interfered. Mm-hmm. So, and I think this was around the time they had also started the storylines heating up to WrestleMania, because you see Diesel was in the back with an axe on the coffins. He was tearing them up, which was pretty cool. But in any event, so now we go into In Your House when Bret faces Diesel in a steel cage match. And again, you can't say he won it cleanly, because guess who shows up?
Undertaker.
In Undertaker fashion, he
that
comes
was great,
man. When he comes through from the ring,
the bottom of the ring, and okay, so this is where apparently Bret Hart had some problems with. I don't 100% believe this story from Kevin Nash. I believe that part of it is true. Bret did not want to look weak and like get jackknifed and look like he was dead in the water, and Diesel had him beat, and then Undertaker basically saved the title. Yeah, because he had already got a shaky victory over. Because what happened with Undertaker? Undertaker won by DQ, was it at Royal Rumble?
Yes.
So
Brett
okay,
lost, but
so he
Taker
had
won the
already
match. Yeah.
okay. So basically, Brett already looked like he was supposed to lose. Now he's gonna look like he's supposed to lose again, and he's going into a main event program with Shawn Michaels. So why would you keep making Brett look weak? So Brett's like, no, you're not. You're messing. This doesn't do anything for my character or WrestleMania leading into that match because you're making me look like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna lose to Shawn Michaels because
you're gonna put him on a losing streak.
right. So
going
then,
into this.
So according to Kevin Nash, I haven't heard this story from Brett, and I haven't heard this story from Undertaker. That Brett says this, and that Undertaker gets upset because he was at the meeting too. And he's like, this isn't only about you, and so, this again according to Kevin Nash, and it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible it happened, but if I'm Brett, I feel that I think Brett's right because you're just hurting the momentum going into WrestleMania. So according to this is the part of the story I don't believe. He said that after he saw that, he says, "Oh, Brett, I'm out of here." And that's when he called Scott Hall and said, "Get me in contact with Eric Bischoff. I'm going to WCW. I'm done. I'm done with this." That was it. Once he saw the way Bret Hart wasn't willing to do business, that's what I don't believe that story. That's what he says.
I don't think they could have offered him or given him whatever the hell he wanted. In the end, I still think he was leaving.
Right.
Because he's the guy that is hard up for the money, and it's well documented in WCW that for $500,000 he'll do the stupidest booking and the stupidest things because he'll say, "Well, you give me the money, does it have to make sense?" He's all about the money and doesn't care how foolish it looks. So I think he was gone anyway. Mm-hmm. If anybody would have had a second guess to it and maybe stayed, Scott Hall possibly. Diesel, no.
But it was cool.
He saw the money train coming and he got on it.
Yeah. By the way, it was cool the way Undertaker came out and dragged him down. That was cool.
Dragged him to hell.
Oh,
yeah. He actually paved the way for that because they still do that to this day, and I love seeing it every time, especially when the fire comes out.
Yep.
And it's funny you see Diesel's reaction as he's trying to claw, and you see the fear of God in his face, like, I pissed off and I went up against the wrong guy here. But in any event, they had a great WrestleMania match, despite it didn't come out good for Diesel. But Bret Hart did get a little momentum going into WrestleMania because if you remember, March 4th, 1996 on Monday Night Raw, he actually gave Hunter Hearst Helmsley his very first loss. He was undefeated until that point, and he beat him. And so, I mean, that's a little momentum going in. I know not much with the pay-per-view, but, I mean, it's something at that point.
When does he – I mean, we probably passed this, I'm sure. When does he have that really good match with the 1-2-3 Kid? Do you remember? Hart? On Monday Night Raw?
Wasn't that right after the Kid turned and went to the corporation?
No, 1-2-3 Kid was still a babyface, so it had to be sometime.
So it was a year prior. Because he turned heel at the end of 95 into 96 and then he left.
Yeah.
So it was a year prior. It was on now I remember it was on Monday Night Raw.
It's one of Brett's best matches.
I think it was for the title too, if I'm not mistaken. That's when Bret was champion. So it was after WrestleMania.
Yeah. So it must have been
Oh no! I'm sorry.
Was it 94?
Champion.
Was it 94? I think he was the champ.
If it was, I remember him facing him as a champion. So in 94 they had the match, but I think they fought again. I think it was late spring 95.
They did wrestle again. They did, but I think he was already a heel. I think at that point, by the time they wrestled, I think. But I'm talking about the Monday Night Raw. So it's a famous match. It's one of Bret Hart's best matches ever.
94. Yeah, that was the one with the title on the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that really showed what the 1-2-3 Kid could really do.
Yeah.
And I mean, he already was proven, but again, with his size, Vince wasn't going to run him into the main event status. But this kid was very talented. Mm-hmm. So yeah, him and Bret did do a good match. So now we go into WrestleMania 12, and this is the match that in 2004 the fans voted this match as the greatest in WrestleMania history. They voted this past Hogan and Andre, past Hogan and Warrior. Well, thank God any Hogan match. Past Austin Michaels, which I think I'm the only one that puts that up there on that pedestal. Any WrestleMania main event, period, they've said this is the WrestleMania main event. So this was cool. And I also thought that this was match of the year anyway. And I believe it was voted that too. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart Iron Man match. If any two guys are going to do it, these two are the ones to do it. Now the ending, I could see it's storyline based, but I could see where Bret's grief came from because he has him in the sharpshooter. We've discussed this. And the time expires. and they ordered the match to continue when realistically it should have ended in a draw. And Bret was pissed off, and we all know what happens then. Shawn Michaels gets the super kick in there and pins him, and the boyhood dream has come true. Now, what's funny about this is leading up for the next few months. Now, after WrestleMania, Bret Hart went on a European tour for 2 weeks. He beat Steve Austin and Hunter Hearst Helmsley during his time doing those tours. Now, the tour ended April 22nd. And after this, he took a hiatus. Now, we all thought it was just to step away from the business while Shawn Michaels was running it. Because it only made sense now because if he's there, are you really going to do to him what you did a year earlier? Keep him in the mid-card match, especially with what's going on in WCW. Now, his final televised appearance was a taped interview on the tour describing his passion for wrestling and had diminished, and stated that even though there were offers from other companies, that he might be finished with professional wrestling. In the fall, and I know you remember this, WCW presented Bret with a 3-year, $9 million contract because his contract was expiring.
But to rewind a little bit, Bret was filming Lonesome Dove when he left.
Yes, he was still focusing on his acting, but with his contract coming up, there was heavy interest in him. WWE had countered with that ridiculous 20-year deal, which, come on, really? I mean, you could have just given him a 5-year contract and been realistic about it, but a 20-year deal is just
I didn't understand that.
Ludicrous. I think Vince was just nervous because if he loses Bret at this point,
he had already lost Hall and Nash.
It's pretty much over.
Hogan in '94, so yeah.
So he finished up on his original deal, and then Bret Hart returned September 8th, 1996, beating the British Bulldog in South Africa. And then on October 21st, 1996, he re-signed with the WWE. So I was actually glad he did, because I was like I said, I was a Bret Hart fan, and I didn't want to see him go. And the timeline for him being off kind of made sense with the Iron Man match, maybe get his head in check. And over the course of the summer, if you remember, somebody was egging him on the whole time he was out. And that was Stone Cold Steve Austin. So they were still keeping him relevant just in case he was to re-sign.
But you know that Vince was actually angry at Bret because in '96, when Ultimate Warrior gets canned, Vince called Bret to come fill in for Warrior, and Bret said no.
And he had gotten it was July for his.
He wanted him to do some dates.
Yeah.
He wanted him to do some dates, fill in the dates the Warriors supposed to do, like on the tours, the house shows.
You know what actually would have even made sense to put him in that In Your House match, if you think about it, rather than Sid.
Yeah, I'm assuming they probably would have put him in there too. I
think it would have been a better match. Shawn Michaels teams with Bret Hart and Ahmed Johnson against the Cornette clan. I mean, Bret was technically still feuding with Owen for years anyway. So rather than Sid, I think Bret would have been a good choice for that, but we got what we got.
Yeah.
But I can understand Vince getting mad at him for not
he said he was ready to come back, so.
He was never going to retire. That whole thing where he said that his love for her was gone. No, you're the one guy I know that's not going anywhere.
And he handpicked Steve Austin to work with.
Yes, he did. And we all thank him for that.
Yeah.
Because he created what became one of the best characters ever. And the two of them were just great in the ring. We'll get to WrestleMania in a minute. After an 8-month absence from the ring, he fought Steve Austin at Survivor Series.
I was there. Me and Dave went there for that match.
Oh, man.
We were in the
I envy you guys. I tried to get the tickets for that, and it was sold out. Because I told Anna, hey, we're going to go. And a couple of my friends wanted to go too. And when I called Ticketmaster, they were like, they sold out in like 3 hours. I'm like, bastards.
I was
because
lucky.
that match was the reason why I wanted to go. Was it good? I mean,
live. It was experience. It was incredible. I mean, that was the night that besides that match, that was the night that Sid got cheered and they were booing Shawn.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and then also Rocky Maivaia's debut.
Yeah.
And that actually Survivor Series team, if you looked at it, wasn't half bad considering what they became later on. So I just think the stalker thing was a little, but Man, I envy you guys. So he and actually, what's funny is that match with Steve Austin was a number one contendership match. So automatically, right off the bat, Bret comes back after 8 months, beats him, and now he's in line for the title. Conveniently, it's not Shawn Michaels because Shawn Michaels loses the title to Sid that night.
Yeah.
Don't say that he lost his smile at that point.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I think it was storyline for Sid to win it anyway. So now Bret goes into In Your House in December.
Well, I didn't want to get sidetracked, but that was supposed to be Vader.
That's champion?
Yeah.
Well, they did. It was supposed to be in his contract that Vader was supposed to become champion.
It was supposed to be Vader. That was supposed to happen, and
Vader was supposed to win it at Survivor Series,
or
earlier.
No, he was supposed to win at Survivor Series.
It would have made sense for him to do it at SummerSlam since he already fought him.
But then Shawn hated Vader, so then that was the end of that.
Quite a few people were that same way.
Yeah. So
as far as his brutality in the ring.
Well,
but in any event,
yeah. But as another show, we'll get into all that other stuff. But
I'm sure eventually there'll be a Vader episode.
Yeah.
So now at In Your House December, here's where it all starts, in my opinion, because Michaels cost Bret the title at In Your House. Sid assaulted Michaels, who was the guest commentator, which, again, why are you at ringside unless you're there to cause trouble?
Right.
And Shawn got involved in the match. After the match, the tension between the two escalated when Hart attacked Shawn. So here we go. We're starting.
You're already starting up again, yeah.
Which was legit because that was the next main event they wanted. They wanted the return bout for WrestleMania 13. So this is where they laid the groundwork. So going into 1997 now, the Royal Rumble, where if Shawn is going to get the title back, obviously Bret Hart wins the Rumble. Nope. Bret Hart got eliminated by Austin in that Rumble, and the referee was tied up with Mankind. So they never saw the elimination. So Austin, looking around, gets back in the ring, throws Bret out. And I think Bret was the last one because right before that, I think it was Undertaker and Vader that Austin threw out. And then he clotheslined Bret out to win it. And this is where the whole Bret Hart thing, it started. The attitude-wise, like I'm constantly getting screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
He was.
To this point, I'm agreeing with you, bro. I'm on your side. You're getting screwed. You didn't get the title back. You lose at the Rumble when you're supposed to have won it. But in any event, the next night on Raw, Bret actually quit the WWE in protest. Seen that too many times in the storyline. So what it did was in order to ratify the situation with the controversy of what happened, they had originally set up at In Your House in February a fatal four-way number one contenders match.
Right, exactly.
It was supposed to be. It was Bret Hart, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and Vader. The last four guys. The only kink in the chain to that was somebody lost their smile and dropped the title that he was going to be defending against the winner of this match. So now the match becomes for the WWE Championship. And it was a battle. It was like a Royal Rumble match. You got to go over
fatal
the top
four-way.
to lose.
It's called a
fatal four-way battle royal.
A four corners match? Was it a four corners match?
Wow. It might have been. The object was you had to do it like a Rumble. You had to throw them over the top rope, which I would have rather just seen a fatal four-way elimination match would have made it a whole lot better. But anyway. So after Shawn vacated the title, they did that. Bret Hart now wins his fourth WWE Championship at this pay-per-view. So now we're off to the races. Bret's got the title.
So we think because
24 hours later, he loses it. When Austin cost Bret the title against Psycho Sid. So this is where they were the whole thing that we had talked about, where they don't, now that Shawn has done this, whether the injury is legit or not, they don't know what the main event of WrestleMania is going to be. So they don't know which way to go with the belts. So this is where all the chaos between February and March comes in. So now, Bret challenged Sid for the title shortly before Mania. Now this time, Austin was helping Bret because their match was already signed for WrestleMania.
Right.
And Vader, not Vader, Psycho Sid and The Undertaker were already distinguished for the title match at Mania. So now Taker's out there helping Sid. Austin's out there helping Bret because now, okay, if Bret wins the title, I'm getting a title shot.
It's a title shot,
Yeah. So Sid kept the belt. Following the loss, Bret shoved Vince. That was that famous. That was a steel cage match too,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where a lot of people say that the Attitude Era began, and the start of the Mr. McMahon character started presenting itself.
Yep, that's when Bret went crazy. Everybody knows I got screwed, and
Everybody in the
the mark,
back. This is bullshit. I'm a marked
I'm a
man.
marked man. You know the funny thing is though, you know that Bret wasn't actually trying to become a heel at that point. He wasn't. He, as far as he was trying to just, he was, yeah, but he wasn't trying to become a heel. He thought that would get him over as a babyface, just the attitude and just like everyone would agree with him. And instead, he kind of came off like he was whining and complaining, even though he was right.
Yeah,
It had the reverse effect, and then that's when they decided, oh, let's make him a heel.
I liked him as a heel, honestly. That
No,
year,
he was a great heel,
especially when he formed that stable and he did his thing. Of course, later in '97 is a different story, but it was working for him. And at WrestleMania 13, Bret beats Austin, despite the fact that he never tapped out. And we've talked about this before. This was one of the greatest matches in history.
Yep.
This match solidified his heel turn, and this was the first time he was heel since 1988, when he was at the Hart Foundation and Jimmy Hart. So, and this was also named Match of the Year. And if you didn't, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Because this match was one of the best, if not the best, in WrestleMania history.
Easily.
So now, of course, Bret establishing himself as heel. Do you think that's the only time we ever saw him that night? No. He comes out later on that night to confront both, not only Shawn Michaels and his pussyfoot injury, but Sid and The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought this was ridiculous, the way they were doing this. I'm like, can these two guys just have this match and not let this other feud get in the way?
Oh yeah, Bret had a good match. Great match.
Yes.
Just leave it at that. Why do you have to come out and then come off like he's whiny, crying, and then he gets jackknifed or powerbombed?
And then he comes back out again and gets hit again.
Right.
Because you remember Shawn goes, oh, here he is again.
Yeah. Shawn's burying him on the mic. It's terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah, you see Vince over there hovering over Shawn. Yeah. Don't you do nothing? Like, why are you protecting him? I mean, by this point, he's not hurt. Whether he is or not. I mean, he's going to flip off the damn rope. I mean, come on.
No.
In any event, we all know Sid loses the title to The Undertaker. Now, on March 3rd, this is one of the matches I liked with Bret Hart that year. On March 31st, 1997, Bret challenged Rocky Maivia, or The Rock, for the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bret lost that match by disqualification when he refused to relinquish that figure four leg lock on the post. And I remember in the group site itself, not too long ago, I had shared this video because I watched it. And I actually, sometimes I'll just scroll through, watch a few minutes. I actually watched the whole match. And I forgot how good these two were in the ring. And it's just a shame we never got that again.
Yeah. It's bad timing.
It was, with everything that happened. And so from there, now we go to In Your House in April. Austin versus Bret, once again, number one contenders match. Winner gets the WWE title shot. This time, Austin beats him. So now Austin goes the following month and faces The Undertaker for the title.
Mm-hmm.
And because Austin won by DQ when the Bulldog interfered. And this is right after this, I think he formed the stable. So, because remember, Austin had him in the sharpshooter. He was using his own move against him, and the Bulldog came out. Guess he got offended by that. Oh, well, you just cost your brother-in-law a title match. Yeah. Good job there, buddy. So, in any event, leading from there, and this, I literally just shared this yesterday, and I tagged you into it. On April 21st, 1997, on Raw, Bret and Austin fought in a street fight. This was that famous ambulance thing. He messed up his ankle with the chair, and they get him into the ambulance, and Austin is beating up the driver, and he goes, I told you I was going to send you straight to hell. Goes back through the thing, starts beating the crap out of him again. I mean, this was just a classic Monday Night Raw moment. And what are the odds I find that video right before this broadcast? So I thought it was awesome. And I watched that whole thing through and through. It was a great match. And so in the weeks to come, Bret denounced the American fans. So we did, he's doing all that, and he reunited with the feuding Bulldog and Owen. They were going to kill each other with chairs and stuff over the European title. Bret comes out there, tells them all, "I love you." Owen starts crying.
Yeah, it was great, dude. It was well done.
It was. So he reunites the Hart Foundation. He's got the Bulldog, Owen, Jim Neidhart, and we bring in Brian Pillman, who was known with the Hart family for years, trained with them. So now you got your stable together. So and it was the Hart Foundation. It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So and actually, it was funny in 1997. Besides winning the match of the year, he was also voted most hated wrestler of 1997.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it. I would have thought people would have
No.
voted Shawn Michaels more with the whole DX thing, but at that point, they didn't know whether to love him or hate him.
Mm.
So, in any event, that leads us to In Your House July, Calgary Stampede. So, yeah, I know we need a cup of coffee for this one.
Yeah.
So, it was the Hart Foundation versus Austin, Shamrock, Legion of Doom, and for whatever reason, Goldust.
Yeah,
And I looked back at the card because I remember we said that it should have been Vader. Vader was in the title match with The Undertaker, so that explains his absence from it.
Yeah.
Because I had to go back and find out, okay, what was Vader doing that night that he couldn't be part of this patriotic match? Because he was very patriotic, but not quite the babyface just yet. Later on that year, he was. So that explained it that he was facing The Undertaker. He was still feuding with him. So Calgary Stampede, Hart Foundation win. Of course, they're in Canada. They have to win.
Yeah, that was a great match, though.
Except the fact that why was Goldust in the ring?
Yeah.
Of all the people on the roster, why did you pick him? But anyway, I guess he symbolized what I think Bret had said what the U.S. stands for: the transvestites and all this nastiness and all that shit. Whatever. What are you gonna do? In the weeks to come, they had the U.S.-Canada rivalry continued. July 21st, 1997, on Raw in Halifax, Nova Scotia. They had a flag match. It was Bret, Owen, and the British Bulldog versus Austin, The Undertaker, and Dude Love. And this is again, Hart Foundation win. They're up there. They have to win.
Oh yeah, of course.
They're not going to come off. They're not going to come off losing this type of match. And the Bret Austin feud was also voted feud of the year that year. So I mean, Bret was on his game in '97, boy.
Oh yeah, he was on fire.
He really was.
He was on fire. Great heel, man.
This was a definite bounce back from the 93, 94, 95 nonsense.
Definitely.
96 and 97 were his year.
And he was very hesitant to be. The funny thing is,
he was.
He didn't want to become a heel. He was very hesitant because he loved, he was the fans and everything, and he didn't like saying that bad stuff about America. Then he said that was it Pittsburgh that he said that something about if you put a hose in Pittsburgh. What was the line that he had?
Oh,
remember?
Flush all the shit out or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Some derogatory. Yes. Yeah,
it was actually really funny. I forget the line, but it was really funny.
Bret had actually declared in an interview that he did on Raw that he said, "I'm not so much anti-American as I am just very pro-Canadian."
Yeah,
trying to save face on it. But
in Canada, we care about our old people. We don't.
Well, if you're in New York and you're the governor, you just give them the COVID virus.
Yeah.
So he also said in real life, and this maybe had something to do why he wouldn't have worked out in the Attitude Era. He said he did not like the new Attitude Era that was approaching and preferred traditional values.
He just didn't like the sexual stuff. That's what it was.
I really think he would have had a hard time in 1998 then. I really do.
No, they did.
Or 99.
I don't think he would have had any problem. You just had to book him with the right people.
And it wouldn't be Val Venus.
You're not going to.
Or Nicole Bass.
Yeah.
China. Okay, so after the flag match, we're going on to we're leading up towards SummerSlam. So now Bret had vowed if he couldn't beat Undertaker at SummerSlam, that he would for the title, he would never wrestle in the U.S. again. Yeah,
before that, it was a couple months before. Remember, he was supposed to fight Shawn. I think it was King of the Ring. And then
he was. The Bret and Shawn was supposed to face each other, and then all of a sudden, Bret's knee had happened, and they bowed out, and the Hart Foundation nominated Austin to fight in his place. And so now you had the tag champions fighting each other, which was funny because it was a no contest, and they were like, "How the hell?" And they just walk out together. It was funny. Then you don't see Shawn again until SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like the part-time wrestler in the first part of '97.
Then Shawn's special guest referee.
Yeah, with his little stipulation that if he didn't call the match down the middle and be impartial in this one, he would be banned from wrestling in the
Hmm.
U.S. And I'm like, that's stupid.
I don't know
But in
why he
any
did that,
event,
but it worked out. It works out.
it did because at the end of the match, you see Brett spits at Sean. Sean's got the chair. Brett ducks out of the way. He hits the Undertaker. Now he's got to count the three.
Yeah,
He counts it hesitantly because you remember he goes 1, 2, and he stares at
yeah,
Brett before he drops that
yeah.
three, gets out of the ring, and
Yep.
Brett's now a
Hmm.
five-time WWE champion. Kudos to Brett. Sean, you're in trouble.
Yep.
You got the dead man on your tail, buddy boy. First ever Hell in a Cell match coming up. So now from there we go to September. Now this match it didn't make any sense on the card other than Brett lost to the Patriot on Monday Night Raw in July 28th. Because I remember Brett telling on Sergeant Slaughter on Raw, who did this guy ever beat to get a title shot? He goes, you.
Yeah.
Which Del Wilkes, I mean, the only time you ever saw him, he was part of the tag team in WCW with Stars and Stripes.
It was, right?
With
I
Marcus
believe so.
Bagwell for a minute.
Yeah. That's right. For like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy really wasn't recognized as much, and I remember he was the first one to use the Kurt Angle theme. And because when Kurt Angle came out, when I heard the thing, I was like, "What, is Patriot back?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "What is this? Why'd they bring that bum back?" So in any event, he gets a title shot against Brett because, of course, the main event for that pay-per-view was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels anyway.
Yeah.
But still, and we talked about this leading up to November. At this point, why wasn't the belt taken off of Brett? Not getting into that again.
Yeah. All right. So, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff we're not going to get into. We did a whole episode. If you guys haven't seen it, the Montreal Screwjob. I'm going to leave a link in the description box. Make sure to go watch that. We get into all the details of what happened in '97, the whole Shawn Michaels Bret Hart feud, and we also did a Hart Foundation episode. So if you're curious about his singles tag team career, I'll put a link in the description box too. But
Yes, because
there's a
the
lot.
Montreal Screwjob was our initial episode, so check it out if you haven't already.
So,
and if in case you're wondering why we're leaving out the whole Montreal thing or what led up to it. So now Bret Hart beats the Patriot at the In Your House in September, goes on to October now, not even defending the title, has the flag match. It's Bret and Bulldog versus Vader and Patriot. And Bret and Bulldog win. So now he's got the momentum going into Survivor Series. And obviously, no, before that, let me back up a little bit. He was also involved in, if you remember, in September 97. It wasn't his retirement match, but he was involved in it anyway. Bret Hart fought Terry Funk at Funk's WrestleFest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
His supposed retirement match. And that was on the Wrestling with Shadows DVD documentary. Right. Bret beat him, but that wasn't Funk's retirement because I think Funk had about 5 of them.
Yeah.
To be quite honest now, I don't think at 78, I don't think he's retired now.
Still, yeah.
The man never stayed retired, and he loved the business too much. But in any event, he fought him. It was an interpromotional thing because Terry Funk at that point had just transitioned out of ECW.
That's right.
And what's funny is he has a retirement match, but then shows up as Chainsaw Charlie and Terry Funk, Royal Rumble. So he was retired for like a quick minute.
2 seconds, yeah.
And then, of course, 1997 November Survivor Series loses the title to Shawn Michaels.
Right. Bret had already, Vince had already said that he couldn't afford him anymore. Bret ends up signing with WCW.
For a lot less than what the original contract was.
Bret refused to put Shawn over because Shawn had refused to put him over. So it was a big mess going into Survivor Series. It was supposed to end in a double DQ, and it turns into a disaster.
What we got.
Yeah.
Don't screw Vince. Not getting into it again, because you and I don't see eye to eye on this one. And we've discussed that in our episode. And again, if nobody's checked it out, go ahead and do so right after you watch this one. You'll see where we're coming from. And the rest is history until Bret goes to WCW.
Yeah, Bret has the gets put in. Shame. Yeah, well, Bret gets put into his own hold. They ring the bell, and then backstage brawl.
Knocks out
Vince, and
Shawn and Hunter tell him, "I had nothing to do with this. I'm even though they did, because they were at the hotel going, oh God, what did we just do?" And the Mr. McMahon character was born.
Yeah, and like I said, we both said about The link is in the description box. Check that episode out. So we're not gonna go over it into great
Yeah,
detail.
because
But
we've covered it extensively in that
yeah,
episode, everything that
but
led up to it.
but Brett had a tremendous career, and he had a few good years left in him. Because in '97 he was doing some of his best work. You
Yes.
know, so
5-time WWE champion, 2-time Intercontinental champion, 2-time Tag Team champion, 2-time King of the Ring winner, half a Royal Rumble win. Well, I'll just say he won the Rumble. I'm not even going to count Luger. I mean, the guy had a Hall of Fame career from 1984 to 1997, hands down.
And he helped change the business because he showed that you didn't have to be 6'8", 300 and something pounds, and he was a wrestler,
Yeah, he lived up to his moniker by far. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be.
Yep. So that's it for Bret Hart's WWE singles career. The next episode we're gonna cover his WCW career, which was
lackluster. That's his words, to say the least. But he did have 2 moments that he thought were the tops that I'll get into as far as what he did, and his